Welcome to another edition of the Commissioner's Report. I'm your host, Tricia Pichette. Joining me today is Commissioner Rick Wilson. And if you know anything about Commissioner Wilson, you know that he loves cars and he loves racing. But his interest in transportation doesn't end there. In fact, today he has invited Ryan Kordek, the planning administrator for the Polk Transportation Planning Organization, to give updates on local transportation projects and to share some insights on the transportation planning process and how you can get involved. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, it's great to be here.
Yeah?
It really is.
We're going to talk about one of your favorite subjects.
Yes. You know, when I was running for this office, you know, I've lived here in Polk County all my life, and so I've been all over this county. But you know, I knew there were some areas that we needed to look at, and in my district, and on transportation, which was very dear to me. And you know, there were three of them that when I got elected, I said I wanted to really push. You know, the first one was probably at Highway 60 and 80-foot road traffic light there. I had a lot of problems there over the years, a lot of accidents. You know, there'd been a lot of talk, and you know, it was still being talked about, but I just wanted to get involved in it and make that push. And you know, as I can say now, it's funded. We'll be in the next, hopefully by the end of this year, that red light will be there. So I know there's going to be a lot of people on the 80-foot road area, Connorsville area, Alturas, that's going to be very happy for that, and I'm one of them. You know, and one of the second things that I, you know, really wanted to get moving even harder was the bridge down in 98 in Fort Meade. Melanie Bell, our commissioner before me, she got that started a long time ago when she first came. And it's, you know, as Ryan can hit on, you know, these projects, you can talk about them, you can, you know, think it's a simple deal to get done, but it's not. I mean, it's a lot of planning, a lot of time, and a lot of money, and it takes a while, but you got to stay persistent on it, and that's the thing, getting it in those priorities. And on that project down there, it's in design. It's been moved up on the board where it will be in, you know, position for funding quicker. So it's there, and it's going to be one heck of a nice bridge, because I've seen some pictures of it. And you know, third but not least on my part is widening Highway 60 on out east of Lake Wells, where it comes into two-lane there at what is it, 640 or 630, I believe. But that's a wreck fixing to happen, and they have wrecks out there every day, you know. And when they have a wreck out there on that short lane of road, it's not a pretty one. And so that's going to be a tougher one. We'll get into it. I'll let Ryan talk about that in a little bit, but that's going to be a tougher one. But it's in the works. We're talking about it. We're moving with it, and I'm pushing it. So you know, that's three of them right there. I know there'll be some more come up that I want to push on this, but transportation is a big thing, a very big thing, and because population here in Polk County is going out of control. It's blowing up. You know, right now I think you know, they keep saying around 700,000 people. I think it's more than that. We hadn't had a good head count lately, and but you know, it's exploding. 1,000 people a day moving to Florida. And I think there's more than that now with some of the problems we've been having. People are getting out of places up north and moving here. It could almost, I'm thinking it's doubling, but I'm just talking out of my own side of my mouth. But you know, it's a lot of stuff here on transportation. I mean, I got the man right here. He knows all about it. And you know, Ryan kind of touched on what I did. It's kind of like the Highway 60 deal, and what do you think is coming down the pike here on the future of transportation? It's a big deal, and it's something you know, a lot of people don't understand how it works.
No, you're exactly right, Commissioner. And there's only so many places to cross east to west in this part of Florida, in Central Florida. You know, you've got I-4. Really 1792, but that's almost up at Interstate 4, and you got to, you know, come down a number of miles, probably 30 or 40 miles, and then you hit State Road 60, and then it's another large gap down to another crossing of the Kissimmee River, which I think is all the way down at US 98 down there in Highlands County going into Okeechobee. So, you know, it's a long ways, and it's an important strategic road. And the Polk Transportation Planning Organization, of course, which you're a member of, includes really all the cities and the county, of course, in Polk. You know, we advocate for transportation projects, certainly within our county. We advocate for projects and funding to the Florida Department of Transportation. That's an FDOT road. It's one that we've been advocating for some time. It's a project that's been in what we call our long-range transportation plan for some time. The Department of Transportation has started doing some of the preliminary studies and design work for that road to get it widened, but it's still unfunded. And as you know, we just met as the Polk TPO, and that was one of the projects that you spoke about specifically, to try to advocate for the need for that and reminding the Florida Department of Transportation how important and strategic that road is. And the other thing that I think we need to do too is it's not just the Polk portion of that project, which, like you pointed out, east of 630, it's two-laned. You're a county commissioner. I work for Polk County. A lot of times we think in the terms of Polk County, and that's the kind of things that we talk about. But with that project, it's regional in nature. You really need a completed project all the way over in Osceola. As you pointed out, as the Secretary stated today with FDOT, there's really an important something important we got to do, which is really coordinate with our counterparts to the east, and that's Metroplan Orlando, certainly Osceola County. Hopefully they see that priority, that regional importance of that project, because again, there's just so many roads east to west through there. And I know I live in Eastern Polk. I drive State Road 60 twice a day. I know you live off the road. I remember what it looked like when Hurricane Matthew was going up the East Coast. Didn't hit Florida, but Southeast Florida evacuated. I'm pretty sure that was the largest U.S. evacuation, largest evacuation in U.S. history, just in Matthew. And then, of course, Irma, the year later, trumped that one, and we had phenomenal amount of traffic on State Road 60. There was backups in Lake Wales, backups coming into Bartow, really long, well over a mile long, past the Peace River Bridge in Bartow. So yeah, it's hard to look at that road and just think of it in terms of how congested is it, or it's kind of rule out there we really don't need it. You really need to think about those critical times when it's most important, where people got to get out of harm's way. So. Now,
when you talk about long range, what kind of time period are we talking about?
Well, long range, in my terms, again, I'm a long-range transportation planner, and we're currently working on our 2045 long-range transportation plan. So Commissioner Wilson hit on it. Yes, unfortunately, a lot of these big transportation projects, they cost millions or hundreds of millions, or in the real big ones, even billions. It takes years of planning and so on to put a project like that together. So about 25 years is about how far we're looking out right now.
And what happens also, these things, there's a lot of planning, and there's, just like he was talking about, Ryan was talking about, there's a lot of different scenarios that come into play. It's my job to stay in everybody's, that's, DOT, him, everybody else, it's my job to stay in their face and push this, because everybody else is pushing other projects. That's important to me. Well, with another commissioner, another project might be more important someplace else, which they're all important. But I look at it, this one's been going on for a while. We've been talking about it, but it's time to start making the push. It's kind of like the bridge I said earlier in Fort Meade, or the light. They've been talked about, but you just got to stay in front of the right people and push this. And that's where my job comes in. That's why the people voted me in to push for for this. And that's it's not a game, don't get me wrong, but you just got to stay on top of it.
Yeah. Now, if the plans are made and we're looking 20, 25 years forward, things change, priorities change. Does the plan change at all?
Yes, that's actually a big reason why we update the plan, and that's what we're doing right now. We're updating our long-range transportation plan from the plan that we adopted back in 2015, which we called the 2040 long-range transportation plan. But you're right, yeah, things change, priorities change, funding levels change. We look at the growth and employment forecast for the county. We spend a lot of time looking at not just the counties like future land use plans, but all of the comprehensive plans and future land uses, all the plan development of all the cities, and we have to take that into account, and that'll show us some things sometimes. Over about the last 10 years, it's not really a secret anymore, but I can think back 10 or 15 years ago when we were starting to talk to people about the needs in Northeast Polk County, up north of Haines City, that portion of the county, I-4, US 27. We were in a sense chomping at the bit back then about the need for road improvements up there. The county has done a great job over the years, I think the last 10, 15 years, programming, funding projects in their local CIP, roads like Pine Tree Trail, Ernie Caldwell Boulevard, the widening of County Road 54, et cetera. There's been a lot of improvements made up there. Commissioner Wilson was on the board that recommended a project, I guess, last year in the Poinciana area, actually two projects out there in Cypress Parkway and Marigold Avenue. So, you know, we're seeing the need, but yes, things change over time still, and we need to update things, you know, as we go.
And there's always one thing about it: we will never get caught up. We will always be behind on this. I mean, just what you know, he said. I mean, it's 5-year plans, you know, with 15, and now we're 2020. Every 5 years, correct me if I'm wrong, and this is you know, we look at this hard, but you'll never get caught up. I mean, the population's growing, and like I say, these things do take time. You just don't, you know, throw something on a piece of paper and then, you know, build it. I mean, it takes a lot of money, a lot of engineering, and a lot of time.
Now, does this plan only cover roads?
No, good question. We spend a lot of time talking about roads, certainly, and those are the things that people use the most. Of course, you know, we have hundreds of thousands of cars a day, hundreds of thousands of trips a day made in a day just in Polk County. But we also plan for bicycle and pedestrian needs, the need for new sidewalks near schools and in and around our cities and so on, and new developments, bicycle facilities, trail facilities. We do again future planning for, as well as public transit services. So you know, we're in tune with that. So you know, I can think back. You know, I've been with the county for over 20 years, but I can think back to projects that started in our long-range transportation plan, roads like the Polk Parkway or the Central Polk Parkway, or like the widening of US 98 or Interstate 4, or the first time we built and constructed the Fort Fraser Trail, for instance, north out of Bartow, between Bartow and Lakeland. Those are all projects that came and, you know, kind of had their roots in our long-range transportation plan. And you know, you kind of wish, you might see some things, or I'm sure people drive the roads, boy, I wish they'd do something about this intersection or that road. I like to think we are, but as a commissioner points out, you know, he's got to hear those calls and his constituents, and they call us too. And you know, unfortunately, there is a process. It takes a little while that you need to go through. And as we just talked about earlier as well, there's limited funding. So there's not. That's the thing. In such a high growth area like we are in Polk County, and a lot of our counterparts east and west of us, there's just so much money, not enough money to build everything that we really need to. So it's really important to, you know, dedicate that money, allocate that money for the most important, the most critical projects that we can, because again, that's certainly a limited resource, and that's again why we do the long-range transportation plan. We put so much effort into that because we're talking about so much money, it's so limited, and again, it can only go so far. So.
Does you get these calls? Does the average constituent know how roads are paid for?
Some do, some don't.
Oh.
You know, and you try to explain it to them. You try to, you know, most of the calls I get are on roads that we already have in place that are wearing out or something's wrong. You know, they don't really. I don't have a lot of calls that people call. You know, you need to put a road over here, or you need to. I don't think I've got a call on any from anybody like on the Highway 60 project going out. You know, of course, on the red light, because a lot of people, you know, had a lot of accidents there. Yeah. But just certain stuff like that. A lot of the calls are, you know, road problems that we already have that are wearing out or whatever. So that's another thing. When it comes to the county, we got what 2,000 miles of roads in Polk County somewhere that we have to take care of. You know, and it's an ongoing, you know, deal that needs to be paved. We got a lot of roads in this county that are dirt that has to be maintained. So not only the long range, you know, or plans for roads, the long range, and the stuff that we're doing now, then we have to take care of everything else that we got. So it is a major undertaking to move people around.
Ryan, where does some of this funding come from?
Well, good question. A lot of different sources. Every time you buy a tank of gas or a gallon of gas at the pump, you know, for your car, you know, a portion of that, a small portion, about 50 cents, 52 cents or so, goes to the federal government. About 12 cents or so, I believe it is, comes to the county. There's a bit of a state tax in there as well, but you know, so we get a little bit from gas. There's money with property taxes and so on that are created. A portion of that is dedicated towards transportation in Polk County. There's even money with a new development. So when a new development comes in, there's impact fees that they're called. That there's a certain a dollar amount dependent on, you know, if it's just a house or if it's a bigger development or commercial development, and there's money that comes to us that way as well. So some of it's a mix of you know, local money generated right here within Polk, and then some that we we get from the state and as well as the federal government. The Polk TPO, again, one of our main charges is essentially advising or recommending transportation projects to the Florida Department of Transportation for those state and federal transportation dollars that come to Polk County. As we talked about, I think, yeah, you're spot on, Commissioner. We're about 700,000 or a little over in Polk County. We have two large urbanized areas is what they're called or classified as in both the Lakeland and Winter Haven urbanized area. And there's an allocation of money that comes to Polk that, again, the Polk TPO spends a lot of time, again, directing those dollars. But as I mentioned, it's not enough. It's still not enough. So, we try to work, the best with what we have.
And what we've also done over the years is we've made our cars more fuel efficient. Yeah. So we don't buy as much gas. Oh. So that money that he was talking about coming out of the gas tax, there's not as much. So,
whoops.
And yeah. Public transit, all that, I mean, it takes away from that. And so we have to really tighten our purse strings to make things work and look at other avenues. We got to think out of the box.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, do those taxes fluctuate at all? When were they set? Do they bear in mind better fuel economy?
Well, they haven't yet. I don't think they were thinking about that. When do you think that was set?
I think the federal, the big one, the federal tax, I believe, was the last time it was increased was in 1992 or 93. The problem with it too, on top of more fuel efficient cars and it's not enough and so on, is that tax isn't indexed to inflation. So at 52 cents, I believe it is, say 52 cents a gallon, if gas is $5 a gallon, which it hasn't been, but let's just say it's $5 a gallon, only 52 cents is federal transportation tax is what you get. If gas is $1.55 or $1.80 like it's been the last couple months, 52 cents of that is for transportation. And again, the last time it was increased, you can all ask yourself, those either old enough, but if you got a house, you're working, you're doing things in life, you're trying to build a house, for instance, you kind of know what a certain amount of money is going to get you in a certain amount of time, and it's not indexed. So we all know how much. It doesn't matter how much you're talking about, what it bought in 1992 or 93 versus what it buys in 2020. Everything's more expensive. So that's another one of the challenges. That's part of a debate or discussion that we're not just talking about within Polk County. It affects the entire nation. Mm-hmm. And but we are setting up though for for definitely some challenges, and certainly at the federal level, Congress, state legislatures, and so on. Needs to definitely start thinking about that because. I can definitely keep planning. I can do all the planning in the world, but
gotta pay for it.
We've got to have the resources to be able to do that. And again, in the future, we're definitely looking at some challenges to being able to fund the things that we need. So,
now I don't want this show to result in you getting 200 phone calls about transportation planning. Is there another way that the general public can make their voices heard where these projects are concerned?
Well, all meetings, just like we had one today, they're public.
Okay.
I'm sure, I don't have it on front of me, but I'm sure there's websites that we can go to. But the public, the meetings are all public, and they can come and listen and they can talk.
Okay.
So, that would be the best way, or call my office and I'll hand it over to somebody else. No. But I'm willing to talk to anybody about it. It's something that's not going to go away, something we have to deal with. And when people don't understand, I'd rather them understand than not understand and then think that we're doing something wrong. That's the way I'd rather look at it.
Or not doing anything.
Or not doing anything, which we do. This county does something every day when it comes to transportation. Because, like I said earlier, we'll never be ahead. We'll never get caught up. No day he'll say, well, I ain't got anything to do today. I'm going to, we got everything done, It might be if everybody quits coming here and moving to Polk County, but that's not going to happen because this is a great place to live. So that's something we're going to have to deal with, and future commissioners and future planners are going to have to live with forever.
Yeah. And what about the TPO, Ryan? How do people get in contact with the Transportation Planning Organization?
Good question. The long-range plan update that I referred to earlier, as well as like Commissioner Wilson said, if you just got questions about things, want to understand more, you can call our offices directly at 863-534-6486. As it relates to our long-range transportation plan, we're doing some specific public involvement activities where where you can find out more information about, again, what we're planning, and you can comment on it as well. We're having a workshop or webinar that we're holding on July 14th at 4 p.m. You can find out more information polktpo.com or through polktpo on Facebook. We're advertising for that. That'll be an open format. You have the ability to ask questions. Lastly, on our website at polktpo.com, search under 2045 Long Range Transportation Plan. You'll have a way to see a map of Polk County, basically see the projects that we're proposing, and you'll have the ability to comment on them right there on the map. So you don't have to worry about coming to a meeting with a bunch of people, or worry about the pandemic or catching a virus or not. We're doing things to make it as easy on people as we can, so they can stay at home and be at the comfort of home when they're doing that. So that's what we're.
That's one of the things that I love about how the county has responded to this pandemic, and that it is okay. We want people's opinion. They don't want to come to meetings right now, or maybe they shouldn't come to meetings right now. How can we facilitate their comments in another way? It's not that. Yeah, okay, it's not convenient right now. We don't care what you think or what you wish to tell us. We're going to find a way for you to do that.
No, we have to find a way to do that because that's the law. And when it comes to this, it's public meetings. It's a public meeting. But we've right off the bat, we got a lot of great people in the county. We found ways to do it, and it's been working great. And we have our just like our board meetings. We're having them live. We can't have we can't pack the place with people, but we did some rearranging out in our lobby for people to sit. We can bring them in. They can voice their opinion and go back out, and other people can come in. So we're trying to do whatever we can. This is some trying times,
Yeah.
And but there's one thing about it: the world keeps moving, and we just can't stop and say, well, we can't do nothing for a while. We got to think out of the box and get it done. And so far, we've been able to do it, and it's been tough, but we can do it.
Yep. And Ryan, is there anything you'd like to add? I mean, you have a group of people whose opinions you draw on as well, don't you?
Yeah, we have the Transportation Advisor Network. Excuse me. You have a way. Again, if you go to our website, you can join that network. Find that out through our social media, Polk TPO, and you can find out more information there. And that's where you can. Again, we're not holding meetings so much through that group or forum anymore, but we're trying to do things more digitally through short videos, through our website, et cetera, to again keep people in tune with what's going on in transportation. Because as the commissioner said, life doesn't stop, transportation doesn't stop, and I think the future's bright. Hopefully we have people call in and tell us that and let us know what they think, because we're not trying to do things in a silo whatsoever. We think we understand where a lot of the transportation needs are, but again, it's nothing beats hearing it from people that are living in those areas, trying to drive and work in those areas, and that it's important that they let us know that.
Talking about some of the long range stuff, like I said, hit on a couple of times about, all the people moving to, the state of Florida and moving to this county. That's one of we're always looking at that, and of how to make this whole thing work and try to do it in a timely manner and in a manner that every day that we wait, things go up price-wise. It costs more money to build these roads. It costs more money to get the engineering done. But there's one thing about Polk County. We look at the long range deal, and I really do. I always have done that, and we've got some great projects that's going in and around this county, and and the state of Florida does a good job. I won't touch on it, but there's some big stuff coming down the road. On the MCORS project, the connectors, and a lot of things are going to be happening in this state, and roads connected. I know a lot of people, I'm an agricultural background. I'm kind of an old country boy. I know a lot of, and I'll be honest with you, if it was left up to me, we would never build another road in the county. I liked the way it was, but I understand that when you have all these people coming, we gotta plan for it, and we gotta make sure we're ready for it. You sit there and you're sitting in your traffic. I always thought about this. I've told a few people about this. You're sitting in traffic, bumper to bumper, and you see this cow walking across the pasture, and all of a sudden that cow goes out of sight, and you're sitting there in traffic. And say, so we got to do some planning. It's that's the deal, and it's getting worse. I remember back when I was younger, this county, this state was, of course that was a long time ago, but I've seen it in the last 10 years. I've seen some unbelievable changes and you can look at the numbers and tell why. But that's it. I mean, you got to stay on it. You got to have good people that do it. You got to have people that push it. So I mean, we do, and I do look at that, and don't like the change, but we got to do it and do it right.
Yeah. Well, one of the nice things about Polk County is we're considered to have one of the most diverse economies with
Oh, yeah.
Major distribution centers and things like that blooming in this county. I mean, if trucking doesn't have an impact on roads, I don't know what will.
Yeah.
No, you're exactly right. Polk, because of our proximity to Tampa, Orlando, even Southeast Florida, South Florida, I think. We have a lot of warehousing, trucking distribution centers. There's a lot of goods that are coming here and for a short time held here and then distributed to those markets. In addition to Polk County, and so you're right there. Our road network, it's served us well for a long time. Gosh, it's based, about 100 years ago. Polk County, our predecessor, did a great job. We've got a road network. We've widened roads, expanded roads, but we're probably gonna need a couple more, to get us into the future. But again, Polk's, that's always been a selling point, I think, for Polk. And again, our diverse economy is our location, right in the middle of the state, north, south, and east and west, and just about everything comes through here. So
and before the COVID deal, I think Polk County was like number 4 in the nation for growth.
Wow.
And
yeah, that's right.
Grant me, a lot of it's in our northeast corner, but it's still all over the county. And so it's growing. And what happens also is our coast is filling up with people. Each coast, the prices of land are going up. People want to get out of those congested areas, and so they're coming inland. Mm-hmm. Polk County is one of the places to come. But a lot of people coming out of Orange County that lives up in great county, great place, but it's so congested, so much going on. They work there, they commute here. Mm-hmm. And so that's stuff we have to deal with, and it's not going to, one day it's not just going to all go away and change.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people means a lot of cars.
Oh yeah, a lot of cars, a lot of people. But
broad shoulders.
No, I know. It's the factoid that I'll share is we're roughly 700,000 right now. I guess the 2020 census will help validate that. I think we're a little over. I'd put money down. We're probably around 720, 725. Mm-hmm. But we're anticipating upwards of 1 million people to be living in Polk County in about 25 years. So. You're right. We've seen a lot of change the last couple decades. It's still a lot more coming because there's still a lot of land to develop in Polk. And again, based on our proximity to things, it's a good place to be.
And it's based in certain areas. I mean, it's like my District 2, mainly agricultural. Just say Highway 60. It goes to Highway 60 south. I mean, Orange Grove's agricultural, some great roads down there, but it's, everything north of there right now is what's really getting hammered. So that's the way I look at it. And so, hey, we're on top of it, and we're gonna stay on top of it, and you have to, because you'll never get caught up, or if you don't stay on top of it, you'll get so far behind it'd be bad.
Well, thank you both for your work and staying on top of things the way you do, and thank you for joining us. This was really interesting.
Well, thank you for having us, and maybe people understand a little bit more about it now.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
And thank you for joining us for another edition of the Commissioner's Report.
Time to put your toys away. It's bedtime.
Just a little longer.
5 more minutes. Boy, are you ready to go?
Almost finished, Mom.
5 more minutes. You're gonna be late for graduation. James.
Okay, I'm going.
To all the parents who gave their children the time to discover their passions, thank you.